The following program is a production of All the Way Live Entertainment.
You know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
The World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes in the course of doing what you love, you find that you have to step aside and take a different path because of other things. You know, life happens. That could be for any variety of reasons, monetary, education, injury, etc. But the fortunate ones, the determined ones, sometimes find their way back. And this is potentially one of those cases, and you know, I'm not even going to say potential, I'm going to say this is one of those cases. This young lady was in the professional wrestling business some 4 years ago, and she had to step away. Well, now she's looking to make the comeback, and tonight we're going to talk about her wrestling career, why she got in, why she got out, what brought the idea of the return up, and everything in between. My guest tonight is the lady known as Beautiful Brutality, Kyra Maya.
Hi, thank you.
Okay, I'm glad to have you on, and I'm going to assume this is relatively the first, if not one of the first interviews you've done since your announcement that wrestling was back on your horizon. Is that somewhat accurate?
Yeah, this is going to be the first interview back. Yeah.
Hey, well then then that's a big perk for me. So bravo to the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. I'm glad that we was able to get this exclusive because I know you have some fans out there that's probably been bugging you on Facebook like, when you coming back? Why'd you walk away? This, that, and the other.
That's correct, and I wouldn't call it bugging. A lot of people were concerned due to the fact that it was about 4 years ago that I had gotten hurt, and I had stepped out for about 3 months, and I came back for a few matches. It was about 2 years ago when I finally took my sabbatical and stepped away from wrestling to take care of what I needed to do.
Okay. Well, you know, I'm glad you corrected me there because perhaps bugging would be the wrong terminology. I don't want to make it sound like you get tired of people asking about your well-being. That would just be rude. So yes, we'll change that. I'm gonna flip that around and say inquiries about your well-being.
Yeah. I knew what you meant. I just didn't want somebody to get the wrong opinion.
I know, and you're right because somebody will be like, "Wait a minute, it's bugging her." No, so yeah, we have to fix that. I want to apologize to your fans right now. Sorry guys, didn't mean that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this thing from start to finish. I'm going to try to get as much in as we can because I'm not very aware if you have any other interviews out there floating that have informed people about who you are and what you do and why wrestling and so on and so forth. So I want to try to cover as much ground as we can, if we can. So let's take it from the top. The name, Kyra Maya. Where does that come from?
So when I broke out in business, I actually was Sarah Frost. I stepped away and received some more training under Michael Faith, and after that, I basically rebranded myself. Kyra is actually just, I liked the name Kyra. Kind of like it's very Damen kind of feel to it, at least in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And then the spelling is specifically for me because, I mean, you see a lot of the Kyras that are spelled with the IAs and all of that, and that's just not my preference. Maya is actually, I'm kind of a bookworm, and I'm a total nerd. I enjoy reading. I love history. And so that kind of corresponded with the Mayans. So that's pretty close to where it came from. I'm a larger female wrestler. I have a very different style from other women out there. Everyone has their own, and so mine's more of a strong style. I walk in the ring. I wrestle more like a man per se. So that's pretty much the gist of it.
Okay, so I think it's safe to say you, like many others in your field of work, went through a bit of an evolution. You said that you walked in as a different name, but you essentially came out and you found yourself and you became Kyra Maya. Is that
Exactly.
okay? And I think even your nickname changed over time, didn't it?
Yeah, I was originally the charismatic Kyra Maya. And I ran with that for quite some time. It was just a play on words. But when I went down to Houston for a show, I was announced as like this beautiful brutality, this brute force that comes in and dominates the ring. And so I kind of just was like, oh, well, that actually makes more sense than the charismatic, because as I do have a personality, it doesn't always show in the ring because I'm out for blood. I'm sorry, but I'm out to win. That's the way it goes. Step foot in that ring, I'm going to win, period.
Okay.
I get my way.
So is this? I guess we should just jump ahead. Is that an open warning to your future opponents there that it, it's coming, that the time for a beautiful brutality is fast approaching?
Oh yeah. So I have been training for the last 4 months on preparing to come back to the ring. Most people will, they'll rub a little dirt on it and, they might get in the ring once or twice. No, I have been going and going and going nonstop, preparing myself for any and all obstacles that are going to get in my way.
So you have taken this very seriously.
I take it very seriously.
Okay.
Yes.
And you can't fault you for that. I mean, I wish I could say that everybody did, and I'm sure that you probably have come across those that haven't, and that we're not going to go off into that today because I don't want you to bury anybody or anything like that. But I'm sure that we've seen others that have not given it quite the dedication, if you will. So I commend you for your enthusiasm and dedication to the craft.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So now part of the return is one thing for you to go to the gym and then go train and get some exhibitions in and all that stuff, but especially in today's wrestling market, there's a little bit something extra that goes on to being back on the independents, and that's the marketing of said person towards the fans. When you make your return, do promotional pictures and return video or all that good stuff. Now, should your fans be prepared and expecting something like that to be waiting, or on your Facebook or your YouTube channel or something like that as well?
Yeah. So, the big thing with this comeback and the months of preparation and everything is that I didn't take it lightly. I've been debating on it for a really long time. I have brand new gear. I have my boots redone. I have everything prepared and ready. I have promo shots lined up. And before my first match back, everything will be posted and available for people to see. And I'll have, new T-shirts and new promo pics available at the shows that I will be attending.
Okay. Now, I certainly hope for those that are unable to attend the shows and want to see this big return and your new look and all that good stuff like that, that these promo pics, first off, I'm going to say you can follow her on Facebook and just look up Kyra Maya and you will find her. But for those that have not and you only know or introduced through these talents through either my site or the podcast or our Facebook page, Women's Pro Wrestling Network, all one word, hopefully we'll be able to grab one of those pictures and post up and report on the return so that those that are not totally familiar with you will be able to become familiar as you step back into the ring.
Oh yeah, of course. I actually have multiple forms of social network. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram, Snapchat. I mean, you name it, I've got it. And I'll be more than happy to provide a photo. That way, you can upload it or do whatever you need to do.
Oh, absolutely. As we want to be able to report on that appropriately so people will know. I mean, that's what this is all about, especially when we get these interviews and things like that. So fans that are not in the area, fans that may not have met you or seen you or whatever the case may be, can get to know you and know that there's new talent out there that they need to keep their eyes out for. Speaking of training, because we did hear you say that you've been going back in there, you've been getting it in. Where did you train? Let's start with, or I should say, where are you training now?
I'm currently training over at Metroplex Wrestling. It's located in Bedford. The people over there are fantastic. They welcome me with open arms, and I've known a lot of them for years, and so they've been great. I've been lucky enough to have several friends within the business that have been willing to step up and give me a hand. I've also trained over at in the ring over at Rampage. Sorry.
It's all right. There's one thing that you as a wrestler always have on your side is that you can blame little flubs like that on chair shots or stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. Chair shot.
There you go. You always blame the chair shot.
Oh yeah.
So now, wrestling, of all the things that you could be doing in your life, why on earth professional wrestling?
So when I was a little girl, my big thing was I absolutely hated being told I could not do something because I was a girl. I tried so many times. Like, I'm not a lifelong fan for wrestling, and you very rarely see that along the circuit. I started out actually when I was 22 years old. Or no, actually I was 21 still. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
But
chair shot, remember?
Yeah, chair shot. So, my parents wanted me to be in dance and ballet and gymnastics. It's opened up a lot nowadays, but back then it was very cliche. Girls play with dolls and all of that, and I didn't want to do that. Period. I just wasn't for me. I was the girl that wanted to go camping and go fishing, and I rode horses for the majority of my life. And I played soccer. I was very much outdoors, and I wanted to get hands-on. My parents did let me finally play football in middle school because I was bigger than all the boys. And so I remember going to actually a PCW show here locally. They are no longer running, but it was an amazing show. I'd gone in there, and I looked at my friend that had brought me, and I went, I want to do this. She goes, what? I said, no, I'm serious. I want to do this. This is amazing. So, like, I immediately just threw myself into it. I threw myself into training. I watched thousands and thousands of videos, and I knew wrestling existed because I had gotten caught watching it when I was a little kid.
Okay.
But it was always turned off because it was too violent for our household. So, you know, I was an adult at that point. My parents couldn't tell me no. So at that point, that's when it consumed me. It was just everything for me. And it was also an outlet for me because during that time frame, I was also going through a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And it really helped me find myself, if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess on behalf of the fans, I guess we're sorry that you had to go through that. But on the plus side, the fans have you now because of wrestling, and it got you through a difficult time. Which, oddly enough, I have found that several people have leveraged wrestling into. I don't want to oversell it, but kind of saving them from unfavorable situations. Can I put it that way? Is that?
Yeah, that's pretty political right there. I like
Oh,
it.
okay. There you go. That's a politically correct way to put that across. So wrestling was almost a love at first sight type of thing for you. Is that fair?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, you don't see a lot of people that would just. I mean, it's one thing to go. I mean, I've gone to several wrestling shows, and I don't know if I just got overwhelmed with, man, I gotta do it. So to hear you say that you went essentially for the first time, and then just like that, boom, I want to do this, is kind of a amazing thing. It's kind of a big deal.
Well, I don't think of it that way, but I mean, I'm not. I always thought that I was kind of like the outcast because I wasn't that person that grew up watching, some of the classics, Ric Flair and all of them. I'm the one that just walked in and was like, oh, yay, wrestling.
See, now we're getting into Kyra. 'Cause, I think some of the layers of beautiful brutality is peeling back, and we're getting some just loosen up a little bit. That's great. It's, oh yay, wrestling. This, but I can.
Yeah.
I can support you in this much to say that of the people that I've had interview, and I'm going to give myself a quick plug here. Go Women's Pro Wrestling Network YouTube if you want to check those out, or go to podbean.com and you can download these interviews. One of which is the current female referee, Jessica Carr, formerly known as Kennedy Brink, and I don't think that she was a huge wrestling fan necessarily. She certainly didn't have a miles of wrestling history stacked underneath her, so it's not a big necessity. You can always kind of go back and pick that up, especially in this day and age, YouTube and the WWE Network and things like that. There's so much wrestling content, DVDs. You can always re-educate yourself. So certainly not a slight that you didn't grow up as, hey, I know who Harley Race is.
Right. Yeah, and thank gosh. Oh, wow. For the accessibility that we have with all of these different methods of being able to study up and learn and watch and be entertained at the same time with all the different types of wrestling that's out there. Because, I mean, nowadays, you can see anything from any sort of country. It's not just America that you're having to watch. You can watch stuff from the UK, Korea. I know some people that have been to Australia and India and Japan is a big, huge market that's out there. And they're similar in a lot of ways, but at the same time, they're different. So you can experience that different culture that's there. That makes
It makes perfect sense, and you are absolutely correct. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell on myself in this regard, but I will share one thing with you. When I was a kid, there was one match that I wanted to see that I had no earthly ability to look at. I waited 20 years to see this particular match: the Road Warriors versus Hogan and wasn't Fujinami. I can't remember the other guy's name right now, but it took place in Japan. I just had I had a little brain lapse there, but I literally waited 20
Chair shot.
years to find that. There you go, chair shot. That's gonna be the running gag, chair shot. So,
Yep.
but yeah, I literally waited 20 years for that. Now I could kind of just pop online and it's there. So yes, you are correct. There's so much available to you for studying and so on and so forth. It's great, particularly for those of you that are coming up in the business. But you're not coming up. You're making a comeback. Not unless you want to use the LL line and say, "Don't call it a comeback." So.
Oh, yeah.
So we will move into, we see that you were a fan instantly. You went to a show and lightning struck, and it was bam, I got to be a part of that. The next thing that I would tend to ask is, did you find it, how can I put it? Did you think that it was going to be easier than what it appeared to be, or what it might have become? Or did you take to it pretty easy? Was it easy for you? Was it rough? It's like, oh man, this is harder than I thought.
So it actually was both. I don't know if that's going to make sense or not, but some aspects I took to very easily.
Mm-hmm.
Some I really struggled with. I beat my body up my entire life. And so, I had certain obstacles I had to overcome. And, once I was able to get past those, everything kind of just flowed into place one by one. And so, I didn't have any expectations because I didn't know what to expect when I walked in. However, it definitely was an experience. I won't deny that. I poured my blood, sweat, and tears. I've had my teeth knocked out during training.
Oh my.
I've been suplexed on concrete. I mean, I felt the world, rattle because, and well, let me back up. Not necessarily because, but a female in the industry, they're going to be taken a certain way, and mine was that I got treated just like the guys. If you can't hang, then there's the door. And they were very clear about it. So, you know what? I put my best foot forward, and I trained. I was training 5 days a week, about 3 to 4 hours a day. I beat myself up. I had bruises. I had black eyes. And I wouldn't change it for the world. But it wasn't necessarily easy in that way. If that makes sense.
It makes sense. So, for those that may be listening, let's say that there's a young lady out there listening right now who, I'm going to play the I don't say the stereotypical card here, and let's say that there's a young lady that looks at Total Divas, and her impression of wrestling is a little bit lighter than what you've gone through. Uh, would that be considered a word of warning, like, hey, it's not as light or easy or glamorous all the time as what you may perceive?
Okay, so my training nowadays, it depends from promotion to promotion, trainer to trainer. That's the biggest thing you have to know is not all trainers are going to be like mine. I was expected to be the best. And everyone that came from that school, actually, I'm the only one that's still here.
Wow.
Because everyone was expected to go. They were expected to put their life on hold and work for this. If this is something you want, you better be willing to actually fight for it. And I did. I literally fought for it. Things have calmed down a lot since, back in them days. And, there are really kind trainers. There's a lot of, they're going to be tough on you. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the same way.
Okay.
Now, don't think that you're going to be able to go in there, prance around, look pretty, shake your butt, and it's going to work for you, because maybe for the WWE, you might be able to get in as a look. You'll be able to get in and you might be able to train, but you've got to be willing to actually work for it. So it's not a matter of looking like a model. You've actually have to be physically fit. You have to be willing to take bumps and get hurt, and things happen, accidents happen. So if you're not willing to take that risk, this is not going to be for you. But at the same time, it's not something you should be afraid of.
You sound as if you have a lot of experience. I don't know if you've come across anybody that kind of fit those shoes, or you just are aware of somebody out in the distance that might have fit those shoes. But being that you sound, pretty educated on that, I'm going to bring up another scenario, and just chime in on it if you would. There seems to be some others that have gotten placed in the wrestling business because promoters who have kind of the wrong intention necessary, with their charge, so to speak. They find a good looking young lady, and they put her into the ring, maybe a day or two inside of some sort of training. I don't know. I mean, I've seen matches where even a lockup is kind of difficult for these individuals, and I'm not going to mention any names. There are full pages on Facebook that have kind of dedicated themselves to just shining a spotlight on people that I guess the term they call them is trash bag wrestlers, and I'm just saying what they have categorized them as. Have you seen anything like that, and do you put the weights of that problem on the promoter opposed to the talent, or should the talent know better?
So if that's the case, chances are they do not know better. And that's no fault of their own, other than not finding out the information. When I broke in, I asked lots of questions. I tried to figure out as much as I could. This is a very touchy subject. I have seen, the pretty girls get thrown in the ring well before they're even ready. But it's not always going to be the promoter's fault. So you're going to see it happen, and the promoter's going to be like, well, hey, and book the girl. A lot of these girls also start out training, think that they are, pardon my French, but hot shit. They leave training, they're like, deuces, I got this. And so they go out and they start wrestling, and they think they are God's gift to wrestling, and they're going to be in the WWE within 6 months. No, that's not necessarily going to be the case. You have to put in the work. You have to train. That's the big thing. Is training is not necessarily about looking good or anything like that. The big thing about training is being able to do things safely. Because if you're not, you're going to end up getting hurt, or you're going to hurt somebody else. And so if you are not properly trained, I don't care how this may sound, you need to step back, and you need to go and find somebody who is willing to put in the work with you and make sure that, you don't cause harm. Because at the end of the day, you really, really shouldn't be that person, if that makes sense. Now I am mean, I am ferocious, I have no problem admitting that, but at the same time, I know what I am doing. So if you can't handle that, then I will be happy to escort you to the door.
Okay. So now, when we say mean and ferocious, we're talking about in the ring, and I guess their desire or need for you to slow down if they don't know what they're doing. Is that what we're talking about here?
Oh, no, I'm not gonna purposely like hurt somebody. I've been in the ring with people that are like that. I slow down. I take my time, and it's gonna be a horrible term, but I'll babysit.
Okay.
I'm not gonna, break a girl's nose because she doesn't know what the heck she's doing. Now I'll talk with her, and if she'd like to listen, that's great. Majority of the time, they have that mentality already brought into their head because they were brought in as these awesome chicks, and they had it implanted really early. So then, sometimes you got to get hit in the head with that chair before the lights turn on, if that makes sense.
It starts before it starts to sink in.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and I asked that because, like I said, I get to go to a couple shows. I videotape a lot of them and whatnot for the purposes of this channel. And every once in a while, you'll come across that, and you have those occasions where you see the other half of that match, and you say, I know that this person is good that's in the ring, but this match isn't going so great because of and I'm trying to avoid using names, but because of this new talent that's been acquired, and they're having to try to do everything possible to make it halfway believable.
Right. And it's not always going to be about that either. It's a lot of it has to do with chemistry too. You can have two wrestlers in the ring that have wrestled 1.5 million times or just the first time, and it'll be the best match you've ever seen in your life. Then you can have those matches where they just don't click. They don't look good together. They just don't have that harmony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
clashing of styles, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can buy that. I can go with that. So speaking of styles, now you've already basically described yourself as hard hitting, strong style. So if you were going to get placed in the ring and you say, okay, this is what I need for Kyra Maya to have a good match, your ideal opponent or ideal type of opponent, you don't have to give a name, but just kind of pitch me a style. If you were going to say, look, you're talking to the promoter, if you want the best out of me, you need to find somebody that does this, 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 and this.
In all honesty, I want to do that. I'm actually pretty flexible.
Okay.
I can work just about it. I haven't seemed to have any issues in the ring with anybody so far. So, basically, it's not a big deal, really. I go about my day, I'm a professional. I know what I'm doing, and so, if there's issues that do arise, then it's handled, and that. But I don't have to dictate who I'm in the ring with, when I'm in the ring with them, and all of that. So, yeah.
So,
I don't know if that really is what you wanted to hear, so I'm sorry about that.
No, you give me whatever answer you got, because the beautiful thing about that one is I can turn around right now and say, all right, so to the promoters out there, she's ready, and take what you got. So whomever you got sitting there in the on the roster, Kyra is ready to rock and roll with them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's an open call to the promoters out there that you have kind of put yourself up for. So there shouldn't be any real big issues, and you're not overly demanding. Doesn't sound like totally professional. So that's all well and good. I mean, this is great presentation.
Well, I'm glad I have your approval.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, you've been Mr. Green approved.
Well, there we go.
And that isn't it at the end of the day. Isn't that what we're all looking for? I don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's. I was hoping that I would get your approval before the end of this interview, so works for me.
I know. If you would see me now waving my wand, that is the sign of approval. So we talked about having access to matches and things like that, and you know, being able to do research on a moment's notice. Now, also for the fans, sometimes they just want to see you in action. Is there a match that you would point to and say, hey, if you want to see what I'm all about, this is the match of mine that you need to watch?
You can actually, it bites. It's not on YouTube. You can look at clickWrestle.com.
Mm-hmm.
You look for cheerleader Melissa versus Kyra Maya. You want to see what I'm made about? You need to check out that match.
Okay, so that's a quick sell for ClickWrestle.com. And Melissa versus Maya, that's the hallmark match so far. I'm sure we have
Yeah,
many.
that's available online. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure we have many great matches coming up, but as of right now, that is the one.
That's the creme de la creme.
Okay. Did you hurt somebody in that match?
What's that?
Did you hurt somebody in that match? Now I'm asking that because I saw the picture you essentially dragging Melissa by her hair, seemingly across the floor. So that's why I asked. Did you hurt somebody in that match? It looks kind of brutal there, but I guess that's part of your nickname too.
Yeah. So, she just rubbed me the wrong way, and I taught her a Kyra Maya lesson. Now, the match didn't necessarily go in my favor due to I don't necessarily agree with what refs have to say, and but I think I got my point across.
But Kyra, we have to follow the rules, don't we? Isn't that what it's about? We got to follow some rules.
I don't believe in those rules. That's dumb.
Oh.
If you want to hold on to the rope, that's just silly.
Well, that's normally how the game is played. I mean, now granted, I understand that you may not like the rules, but you kind of sign up for that once you step through the ropes, don't you?
Yeah, but I don't sign up for people trying to take the cheap way out of the match because they're scared or whatever reason they've got behind them. So, and I respect cheerleader Melissa as a wrestler, but at the same time, just fight back. The whole thing I can really say is don't go over the ropes. Don't try to get your way out of the situation. You just, if you want to step toe to toe with me, then step toe to toe. Let's go.
All right. Is it safe to say that she was your toughest opponent so far, or is there another one that's on the list?
Everybody's been tough in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the ring with numerous people, men, women. I don't care. I'll step in the ring. You want to go? Let's go.
All right.
As for the toughest, I can't confirm nor deny. I would have to really think about it, and I'll look at my matches because it's been quite a few.
That I love that answer. I can't confirm or deny. I'm starting to think that you might be going into a politician gimmick with that. I mean, maybe.
No, not really.
Not quite.
I just prefer to give as accurate of an answer as I can.
Okay.
But at the same time, my fans do know me. They have supported me, and they know who I've faced, and probably better than I know. So
Well, that's
Being
the
a politician, no.
well, you
no,
know,
I
it's
didn't.
just that confirm or deny thing. I just like that. That's usually a good way to get out of stuff. I would not confirm it or deny. I'm just saying, she was tough.
I'm just saying.
There you go. All right, so I'm just gonna say let's put that into the back of your head for when you decide to do a change down the line. We'll say the governor, Kyra Maya, or something like that. Maybe I don't know.
Oh yeah. I'll be, the first woman president.
Hey, there you go. That might be something. You
Yeah,
never
well,
you never know. Uh,
you never know.
the hiatus that you took. This was health problems that brought this on initially. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't have a problem talking about it. The biggest thing is that when I initially got hurt was at a promotion, which I won't say what promotion or anything like that. I actually didn't know the severity of it.
Okay.
I just remember I did a move and everything went black and I came to and I was like down on the ring and I'm calling for the ref saying, hey, get me to the back. And they're going, you have to go over the top rope because it's a battle royal. I'm going, no, I'm leaving. I'm hurt. And I get to the back and I'm like, all right, this isn't too bad. I'm able to bear a little bit of weight on it. So I have this genius idea of duct taping it. And I borrowed one of the other wrestlers' knee brace and I cinched that thing on and went ahead and did my match. I couldn't walk after that. I had to basically get carried to my car. Somebody pulled my car up. I went to the hospital right after. I took a couple months off. Everything was fine. I was fitted for an ACL brace because I did have a partial tear. But they told me that surgery wasn't going to necessarily be required unless I get hurt again. So I spent a lot of time building up the muscles in my leg and going forward. If you fast forward a little bit, I actually, I'm a practicing black belt in Taekwondo. And I was actually preparing for a class. I was in my front entryway and I'm practicing a few kicks I hadn't done, in a little while. And so I didn't want to look silly in front of the kids. So I went ahead and I took a moment and I was practicing them, and then all of a sudden I went down. And I had a complete ACL rupture. I had 2 menisci tears. I had a partial PCL tear, which I had to have complete reconstruction of my knee. After that, a few days later, I had developed a DVT, which it's a deep vein thrombosis. It's where you develop clots in your knee or in your leg or in your arms or wherever, in my non-surgical leg. And by the time I was able to get help and I knew what had happened, and into the hospital, they started doing the ultrasound to see where it was located, and they were going to draw it out. But it became dislodged, and the clots ended up being lodged into my lung. So I was immediately hospitalized, spent quite some time in the hospital, and all of that. And that's the injury part of it. And,
Wow.
I ended up, my rehab, my therapy was delayed, so, I atrophied very badly in my surgical leg because I was non-weight bearing for several months. By the time I was able to bear weight, I was so far behind that it took much longer to rehabilitate not just my knee, but my entire leg and my hip and my back muscles. And you'd be amazed what happens when you don't use one section of your body for that long. So it took some time. I had to go to a chiropractor, get my back realigned because it had actually created not necessarily like scoliosis, but it had actually, my hips had misaligned. And from being on crutches for so long, and it was just nasty.
Wow. I mean, that is quite the story there. And as much as that you've given, you've been pretty upfront about that, not just here on this show, but you've been upfront with that just on your Facebook. I saw that you actually posted about that, and I'm assuming just based on the way it started, and I won't read the whole thing. This was on the 17th of this month. We're recording this now in September, and it started off with you saying, "This is your expression every single time someone makes a negative remark about my return," and then you basically, gave what you just kind of summarized there, a little bit more, and you talked about quite a bit of stuff. I mean, you have been an open book as far as why you've been away and the problems that you had, and I mean, I commend you for that. But the negative remark thing, I mean, I have to ask that, is that common that you felt like, okay, I need to address this, and I need to address this now because it's coming too much, or maybe I don't know, it's too consistent. Is Was that part of why you decided to share that?
Yeah. So I was receiving messages, and I don't normally let that stuff bother me, and it really just didn't bother me personally. I'm not going to take it that way. The big thing about it was that people did not understand. They did not get it. They were not in my shoes. They don't know my story. And I don't owe anybody any sort of explanation whatsoever or to try and validate myself. The big thing is that I had realized that I had only notified my fans that I had knee surgery. They didn't understand, and I try to be as open towards them as possible. So with the negative remarks I was getting, I had a few pop-offs about, I won't name names,
Okay.
but why are you even trying now? You've gotten old. There's all of these different little things that were said in a negative manner, in a negative light towards me. And, I work hard, and I bust it, and I put 110% into everything. And so I felt that, if I had not just said, hey, I had surgery, and then I was out for 2 years because of it, when people return within 6 months, they didn't know. They didn't understand. They didn't get it. Well, now they get to understand and get what is going on because I have worked hard. And so, I bought a fitness plan with this amazing guy, Houston Carson, with Lions Pride Fitness. He used to be a wrestler down here in Texas as well. And he had to leave the business. He's retired now, but he's helped me a lot on the way. I've had a lot of help between my therapist and my rehab and everyone else that's been around to support me in this journey. So, the haters are going to hate no matter what. So, but at least you have the facts. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. I can understand that you would want to at least. I mean, if for no other reason than your fans, the people that actually have followed you, and kind of shine a light on them. Okay, this is the full reason why I haven't been in the ring, and okay, that much I get. I am a little bit shocked, however, that you would receive that type of negative reaction, especially people that, I mean, and maybe I shouldn't say shocked because there's always going to be some people out there that's going to just say and do stuff just because, uh, and for really no good reason. But at the same time, it is shocking that I would hear somebody say, "Hey, why would you do this? You're too old." Because in my mind, it's like, all right, what is the definition of too old now? Because
Right,
you know,
right.
I mean, we're literally in an era where how old is AJ Styles? I think he's 40. Samoa Joe's 38 or 30, 37, 38, somewhere in there. Hogan at his NWO run was like 42, 43. So I mean, I'm not getting the concept of okay, you're too old to do this when clearly the precedent is there for those that have uh, gone into some would say the prime of their careers, you know, in the later stages, if we could put it that way. I mean, I know a wrestler right here now, and I won't name her name because I don't want to embarrass her, but I know that she's roughly my age, and and I'm in my mid 40s, so and she's still going and going hard.
Oh yeah, and age to me is just a number. I joke around that I feel old all the time, and all of this stuff, but I don't mean it. It's just I'm sore that day,
It's
or
just
something
talk.
along those lines.
It's
Oh,
grown
yeah, it's
folk
just
talk.
talk.
That's grown folk talk. For you kids out there, you'll get to that point one day. Sometimes we just got to vent.
Yeah, and I honestly don't feel old. Now, there are some days I wake up and I've got the creaks and cracks and, all of that, but that's years of damage to my body. Now, I'm not saying that I'm damaged, property or anything like that. It's just, you wake up in the morning, you got to loosen up and get the blood flowing and that sort of thing. It's just, but just, yeah, no, I'm the furthest thing from old.
That's right.
And to be honest, I I joke around that men age like a fine wine, and as they age, they always get so pretty and so masculine, and it's stupid. Like, it drives me insane how good a man can look when he ages 10 years, right? Well, I've figured out by looking at some of my photos that as I've gotten older, my face has matured and I've kind of grown into it. And so I think I'm pretty much in my prime right now. So anybody who wants to hate on my age, you know what, just go right on ahead, because I feel probably the best that I've felt since, I was in my early 20s. And I'm just going to keep going. I don't care.
Well, I'm going to say I'm almost positive that you're going to have fans that's going to uh, not look at that as an issue, regardless. I mean, the same way that you just described how some men may mature, and look at him, he just got better looking with age, and I'm positive there's fans out there of yours that have said the same thing, so I wouldn't sweat it. So, you know.
Oh, I'm not. Don't worry. And if people don't agree, that's fine. But, you can look at actors, you can look at wrestlers, you can look at all these people, and it's like, how do you look better? This is not fair.
Well, so
So
you're working out, so I think you're going to fall in line of that too, aren't you?
yeah, eventually. I'm still not where I want to be. I love my progress. Um, I've slimmed down, and my weight is still going down, but at the same time, I'm building up muscle. So I understand why the scale's not fluctuating like it was initially for the first couple weeks. And, it sounds silly, but I was tanning yesterday, and I was standing there, and I looked down at my leg, and I went, holy, but Jesus, where the hell did that come from? Because my quads had grown so much. And my biceps and everything else, I'm not a petite girl, and I honestly never really have been my entire life, and I probably never will be. But
Well,
I'm comfortable with who I am, so.
Well, here's the moment where we can embarrass some of your friends that and followers on your Facebook page. Or maybe I shouldn't do that, but if you are looking to see exactly what she's talking about and you want to chime in on the progress that she's made, of course, be positive. Be positive. Not that she's concerned with you either way, but be positive. You can always go to the September post, September 10th post, the side by side a picture that you have up here, and I think the responses here have spoken volumes as to how your fan base is taking a hold of you. We got a little cartoon wolf here blowing the whistle and doing applause. We got some emojis with hearts in their eyes. We got looks amazing, look great, very sexy, strong, great job. I mean, and what is this, like 201 thumbs up? So I think that speaks for itself.
Oh yeah. And I love my fans to death, and I appreciate all of their support through everything, and it astonishes me, really the response that I've gotten, because I do go to shows that I'm not booked on. I pay for a ticket just like any other fan, and I go in and I watch the show, and I have been bombarded, maybe not bombarded, but I was approached very quickly the moment that I walked through the door, and it was just a swarm of people, and it was going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So the support that's there, it's definitely there, and it does definitely outweigh the negative that's out there. So, I'm not complaining by any means.
Okay, well, we don't want to make it come off as a complaint, but we have to put in the positive leverage to the statements made about the looks and all that stuff like that. Reinforcement, we'll call it that.
Yeah.
So there we have that, and I know that the workout and the reinforcement that the fans have given so far will continue on. I'm also kind of curious, as much love as you've gotten from the fans, how could you possibly go and heel out on them? Because it sounds like Kyra Maya is by nature kind of a brutal persona. So you may not be the most loved person within the ring. Is that fair, or you just kind of go any way the wind blows?
So my fans are very understanding on who I am as a wrestler. So yes, I go in there and I go, well, I'm trying to think of a proper, I go balls to the wall.
That's good enough.
Yeah. So they know that I'm going in there, and I've had chance of Kyra's going to kill you, Kyra's going to do this, Kyra's going to do that, and they know I'm there to fight, I'm there to win, and they understand that I'm not going to always be happy-go-lucky, cheerful, bouncing up and down sort of person. I'm just not that way. I'm not giddy. I'm not serious all the time, but I'm not the bubbly, licious cheerleader / I'm the majority of the ways that I would explain this, a lot of people have these names, so it's really hard.
Okay, well, share shots.
I'm not that person. But at the same time, there are disrespectful people out there, and if I feel like they don't deserve my love and affection, you know what? You're going to hear it. Period.
Fair enough.
I'm very much black and white. There's hardly any gray area. You either like me or you don't. And if you don't like me, then too bad.
That's fair. That's fair. By the way, for those that were paying attention to this interview from start to finish, the name that I forgot earlier was Tenryu. So it was Tenryu and Hogan versus Legion of Doom in Japan. That was back in '86 or something like that. So anyway, I just had to get that out. Now that I've roped that back around, going back forward towards the reasons that you're out. One of the things that you also had on here, and I don't think you touched on at the time that you were going through the full explanation, uh, and I'm not sure, is it okay to bring up the stuff that you put this? I mean, I know you put it in post, but I want to.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So
you
I'll go ahead. It's fine.
okay,
So during rehab and everything else, I started having weird symptoms. I started having chest pains. I was working out all the time, and things just weren't feeling right. And I had gone to the doctor, and they talked to me for a little while, and they were trying to figure out what's going on. And they said, we've had X-rays done. Your chest looks fine. I've even gone to the ER thinking I had a heart attack because the pain was so intense. The chest pain, that is.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't figure it out. Nobody really put their hands on me, but nothing added up. So they ended up sending me for a mammogram. And basically, if you don't know what a mammogram is, they take an image of your breast tissue, and they squeeze it and do really mean things, and you go about your day. And they told me everything should be fine. We're just going to take these images, and then, we'll just send you on your way. Thing is that the lady didn't really explain anything to me other than that, and because of basically how young I am.
Okay.
So she took the images. She goes, hold on, we need to take some more of this side. I said, oh, okay, that's fine. And she takes these images, and she goes, I'll be right back. And she left. And when she came back, there was a doctor there, and an ultrasound tech said, we need you to come with us. I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, you've got to be kidding me.
Oh.
They pull me in there. They do an ultrasound of my breast, trying to figure out what is going on. And they had actually found a total of 5 masses in both of my breasts, and there was one that really rose a lot of concern because of the size of it. So at that point, I was referred to an oncologist. The oncologist required a biopsy. My first biopsy was pretty cut and dry. And I was called for the results, and they said, we need you to come back. I said, okay. Went back in. I was required to do another biopsy. At the time, they also did a lumpectomy. They removed that mass. My doctor was phenomenal. It's not something I want to experience every day, but they try to make it as comfortable as possible. Like they even give you, what are those things called? The essence oils or whatnot. I'm not big into it, but they give you little patches that smell like lavender and sandalwood, and trying to keep you calm.
Okay.
And after that, I had gotten a call about the results. And they had informed me that I needed to come back to the office. And I'm going, well, my life is just fantastic, isn't it?
Mm.
And they had informed me that the larger mass that they had took out it had some abnormal cells. They were worried about it. They wanted to go ahead and take out the rest. So they did that. And where they took tissue at between the biopsies and everything else, they actually left little titanium clips to notify, hey, there was something here. And during this entire time, I'm on chemo, and I've lost my hair, and my mouth is covered in sores. I can't eat. I ended up drinking a lot of protein shakes and became, a pretty good customer for Smoothie King. And, chemo's no joke. I'm going to be completely blunt, honest, truthful here. Chemo is absolutely no joke. I would receive my treatment, and for about 2 days, I was completely wiped. I wanted to sleep all day. I didn't want to do anything, and I was sick as a dog. But it was something that needed to be done, and I understand that. It's not something I ever want to do again. But it was necessary. And the big thing with it all is it was essentially stage 1 breast cancer, which is, it sounds silly because everybody's like, hey, I had stage 4 or stage 3 and I survived. So it's not a big bragging thing that I like to talk about. I will speak about it. It's not my favorite topic in the world. It is something that I had to go through, and that actually is part of the delay in my training and me trying to figure out if I wanted to come back, because, I had just done this. Is it really going to be worth it? Because, if this thing spreads like wildfire, I can die.
Mm-hmm.
And, I already beat death once. How am I going to beat him a second time? So I had a lot of internal battles within myself over the whole situation. And, it's just, a woman and her breasts are like, united. It's kind of like men and their manhood. If you take that away, it's kind of defeating in its own little...
In its own way, yeah.
Yeah, in its own way. So it's part of your identity, I guess, is the best way to put it. So, it was a rough patch. I got through it. I actually have a really good friend that is still a wrestler, and she was great support throughout the entire thing. And I had other friends that were really supportive, and I had one friend end up buying me a bubblegum pink wig just to, because I made a comment about, when I started the chemo, I'm just going to buy a bubblegum pink wig and wear it every day. And she ended up buying me one. It was awful, but I loved it.
It was awesomely awful.
Oh yeah, it was awesomely awful. Yeah. So that's pretty much the whole ordeal. It's kind of whatever, and I feel really bad for the people that were around me during that time frame, because I was not pleasant. I was not happy. I was not cheerful. I didn't smile. I spent a lot of time, with internal battles and depression and trying to grasp why me.
Mm-hmm.
But as time goes on, it's becoming a little bit more comfortable to talk about, and but at the same time, I know there are people, and there have been people that have had it much worse than I have. And so me being, oh, well, I had it and I survived, woohoo, go me. Mine was very mediocre compared to some of these women that they get complete reconstruction of their breasts and they have no feeling, because the nerve damage that's there from when they do the mastectomy, and they no longer have an areola because they've had to have tattoos or things along those natures. That, who am I? Yeah, okay, I experienced it, but who am I to complain about it? Who am I to say, well, you know what? I'm a survivor. You should love me. No. That's I don't play like that. So, and anybody of any kind of cancer that is out there, my thoughts are with you. My prayers are with you. I feel for you. I really do. And I know it sucks. And, I was lucky enough that I didn't have to go under radiation, but you can get past it. And if it's terminal, I'm sorry. I couldn't even imagine in a million years, the thoughts and everything else you have to go through. I've had family go through it, and it's absolutely awful. And it's not something to joke about. It's not something that you just start casual conversations about. It's a very dangerous thing, and everybody suffers, whether you're a patient or your family or your friends or something along those lines. Everyone suffers from it at some point. So, and if you don't suffer from it, you know what? I'm so thrilled for you. You're very lucky. But like I said, my heart goes out to anybody that's struggling. And if you are struggling with it, and you know who I am, feel free to send me a message. You want to just vent for a second, because people just don't get it. I get it. I may not have it as bad as everybody else, but I do understand the basics of what happened. And so, or what happened. Mine's past, sorry.
So I think, is it safe to say that this was a life-changing event?
It was. It really, really was. It was eye-opening. It was something that really turned my world upside down. And, I do have children, and my children do not know what happened for the most part. My daughter understands. She kind of put two and two together. Mm-hmm. My son's young enough that he didn't quite get it. He just knew Mommy was tired.
Okay.
So, but it being this severe and that big of a deal, it definitely made me go, okay, we've got to do something. And once it was done, it was one of those, I have a second chance. I get to be me. I can do me. And so, as much as it sucks to say, that's one of the biggest reasons why Kyra is back today. That is one of the biggest reasons why I have fought and struggled and put in hours at the gym and hours training, and whether I'm like to the point of tears because I'm on the Stairmaster or whatever I'm doing at the time, because it just sucks,
So this,
I knew my fans made it worth it.
So this is a good portion of why, okay, it's time to make the return.
Yes. Yes.
Now, is that the, sorry, but is that the sole reason, or is that just the majority?
It's a very good chunk of it.
Okay.
There's a lot of reasons that go behind it. My knee thing, I struggled through that. And, like I said, I faced death with that pulmonary embolism. The people die from that every day. And the fact that I had that, and I beat that, and then I turned around and got slapped in the face again with the big C word, and I survived that one. It makes you look back and think, okay, if I can do this, what else can I do? What am I going to be capable of? What am I going to be able to succeed at? Who am I to become, essentially? So, I felt that those are the two big events that happened that really made me want to come back. Plus, my fans have been asking forever, and I love them to death. I still spoke to some of them, throughout the time that reached out to me. And the big thing is I love the sport. And I gave up on something that I love. And, you only get to live once. So if all of these bad things are out there, and all of these things are going to happen to you, no matter how hard you work for it or how hard you try or no matter what wall you bump into, why give up? Why quit? Like the whole thing of, you said positive reinforcement. Well, positive reinforcement equals positive results. So if you start to think positive and you think you can and you understand what's going on, then guess what? You can do it. So that's pretty much it.
Wow. I can honestly say I wasn't expecting to get half of what I got in this interview. I mean, that I know where the clips are now, certainly, that need to be put out there. If for no other reason that somebody else may need to hear it. So yeah, we need to clip that out so your story can be heard. I mean, that sounds like quite the journey, and I know you openly acknowledge that, hey, it's not the most downtrodden or drastic version of it that could exist, but you have dealt with it, you walked through it, and you understand just by virtue of having been there. So, I mean, hats off to you for making it through and surviving it, fighting back and get back in the ring, using it as a motivation and all that good stuff. So, hey.
Well, I appreciate it, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. But that's, I'm me, so I'm just looking outward. So.
Oh, come on! You essentially had a match with death. How is that not a big deal?
Well, here's the thing with that guy.
Okay, well, I was like, you're tough, as tough as nails, clearly. So you'd be able to do the things that you've done.
Well, thank you. I definitely do try.
Oh yes, you need a pat on the back.
I'll be sure to do that this evening.
Okay. So, officially speaking, is there a date of return? I know that you've already begun taking bookings and all that good stuff. We're gonna rope this back into wrestling land just for a second. So, is there an official date that is sitting to say, hey, this is the day that I step back into the ring and kick this tour of brutality off again?
Day.
Okay, what is it?
I actually cannot disclose that.
Oh.
So the big thing is that if you're into wrestling, you have to show up. I don't know if it will be announced. I'm not sure. But my official first match back has been set in stone. I don't know exact details or anything like that, but I can tell you I would be out on the lookout next month.
Okay.
For sure.
All right. So, and just for the sake of this, because I don't think we actually officially say, hey, this is the area that you are in. So I'm not going to name no promotion, but I'm just going to say, okay, now what area are we talking about? What area do you live? And then they can kind of assume the proximity from that point out.
I actually am located in DFW, Texas.
Okay.
That's like the Dallas Fort Worth area. However, I do travel a lot, and
Oh, okay.
so
So my estimation is a little bit wrong. I was assuming that it'd be close to home or something like that. I don't know.
it actually is going to be within driving distances of my place of residence.
Okay.
The further out shows that I am booked for, they are going to be either out of state or down towards, San Antonio area and things like that. So, but I'm sure the majority of those will be announced. I do have one match announced on Facebook. For if you're in the San Antonio area, I'll be down at Texas Wrestling Entertainment. It'll be on December 12th. That is the only date that I can announce. I do know that I have accepted bookings in Oklahoma and Florida, and there's still some talk within Arkansas as well.
Okay.
So,
So just to recap this here, uh, and without giving up any dates, because you've already said that officially you can't actually lay down a date. But if you're a fan and you're wanting to possibly see her make the big return, then you'd want to keep your eyes out to some promotions that are within that are, I don't know, we'll say surrounding the DFW area, but certainly October. You want to keep your eyes open in October. That fair?
yes, definitely.
Okay, so there you go. You keep your eyes open in October, and you may see some brutality make a return. I'm just saying.
Oh, you will see.
Uh, well, that
Well,
they gotta know which promotion to go to. So, but I'm not trying to
but
spoil any surprises or cause any rift in the promotions. I'm just gonna say, for those that's listening, you got to keep your eyes open.
oh yeah, definitely.
And and maybe, just maybe, she may drop some hints on some of her social media as to where you might want to be. I don't know.
You got to stay tuned. You got to pay attention.
So there, I just want to put that out there. And I heard you say you're going to Florida. Now, how you gonna come right over Georgia and go to Florida?
I haven't been contacted by anybody in Georgia, so I do apologize for that.
Kyra Maya
I made
needs to make
an
an
announcement.
appearance in a Atlanta promotion or thereof the surrounding areas.
Okay, I'll keep a lookout.
Well, I'm always pushing for that. When I do come across these talents, I always push for the promoters here. You need to go ahead and make contact and get these ladies into some of our promotions here. There's plenty of places to go. And all of them may not have the same ideals as I do, but I push for it anyway. We'll put it that way.
Well, I respect that. Thank you.
You know, it is my business, so to speak. And I'm also going to assume that Oklahoma, you already said that because right here is you've already got your appointment for blood work and physical, so it looks like you're getting
Yeah.
ready.
Oh yeah, and luckily with the blood work and the physical, that actually Louisiana has a boxing commission as well that has certain requirements for it, and I can use them for both. So luckily there, I've got that.
So,
But yeah,
so that's a big thumbs
I
up
have
for
no.
promoters out there too.
What's that?
I said, so that's a big thumbs up for promoters out there in Louisiana too. You say you're going to Oklahoma, but you said it operates for both, right?
Oh yeah, I'll travel just about anywhere.
Well, that would be another question to ask. With this return, the real thing would be goals, because now you're kind of re-establishing yourself, um, and the landscape has changed in the last couple of years. You know, the landscape of women's wrestling has altered and shifted, and some of the people that you've worked with have kind of moved about, and so on and so forth. New promotions have popped up, you know, the whole 9 yards. So, are there any particular goals that you have kind of laid out in front of you, like, hey, if I can make this return, these are the things that I want to do?
So my biggest goal has been the return. That has been my main focus. And then, you know, as for goals other than that, the big thing is staying true to who I am and, you know, what I've become. You know, I've grown over the years. I've learned. I've tried my hardest, whether, you know, somebody appreciates it or not. You know, I've always put in all the effort I can. I mean, we all have the ultimate goal of, you know, either some sort of high dollar promotion or traveling overseas or anything like that. And that's across the board for any wrestler. And if that is not your goal, chances are you don't belong in wrestling. So, but as like individual goals, you know, I'm here to dominate the women's division. And, you know, while we're kind of on that, it's not just the women's division, because I absolutely hate the fact that we are segregated, because it's not about man or woman or this or that. It's about you step in the ring and you are a wrestler. I don't care if your gear is pink or purple or yellow or orange or brown or black, or if you have parts that I don't, or vice versa. We are wrestlers, and so when you step in that ring, you fight as such. And so maybe that's my goal, is this whole segregation of, you know, women's wrestling and men's wrestling and all of these things. You know, women have grown within the business, and you have some phenomenal workers out there. And so if they can go like a man, put them in the ring with a man. Whether they succeed or not, you know, that's up to them. But, you know, that's probably just me, because, you know, I'm built very similar to a guy. I'm tall, I'm built, and so, you know, I'm not afraid by any means.
I see.
So that would probably have to be one of the biggest ones. Plus, the other big thing is looking at women's wrestling like a special attraction. I hate that to death, because, you know, we put in the same work, we have the same boots, we have the same gear, we work just as hard, if not harder, than some of the men that are out there, because of the fact that we are girls. We automatically have that tag on us. And it has changed. It has evolved. It just hasn't evolved enough for what I like. And that might sound really silly and be like, well, there's been great steps in women's wrestling. Yes, there have been amazing steps. But, you know, in my opinion, it's not enough. You know, if we can go, let's go. But, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, I can see that. I mean, there are several promotions that cater to the intergender matches. I mean, I guess that's become a novelty in and of itself. And yes, you're correct. There have been leaps and bounds. I mean, we just came off the Mae Young Classic, and course, I was able to review that from start to finish. So, again, the quick plug for me. If you haven't seen it and you want to know what it's about, go onto our page and listen to the podcast. I describe it in full. But how about this? I'm going to lay out a few scenarios, and you just tell me whether that's something that you would be relatively interested in, or you're like, okay, look, no, it's probably not likely that I would do that, or whatever the case may be. That sound good?
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah, go ahead.
so we're going to lay out potential goals in the business. Being that Shimmer is pretty close to you, would that be something that you'd be interested in?
Oh, yeah. Shimmer is a phenomenal promotion. They have some of the best there. And if you've never seen Shimmer, you can go to pretty much any used DVD place. I'm not. We have a movie trading company and that sort of stuff, and you can find DVDs all the time. You can order them online. You can order matches and things along that nature. But if you've never seen it, you want to understand, because that is like the game. If they, what? How am I trying to explain this?
They're pretty much the pinnacle as far as women's wrestling outside of a televised promotion. How's that?
Yeah, that works. Those chair shots.
That's right. The chair shots are still bothering you.
Oh yeah, those chair shots. Maybe my ponytail's a little too tight.
No, well, that comes with a chair shot.
Oh yeah. So,
okay.
but yeah.
Okay, so Shimmer's on the radar. They have two sister promotions, so to speak. Shine, which you are going to Florida. I don't know if you're going to Florida for that, but I'm going to assume that Shine would also be something that you would be in favor of.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, Rise is a little bit of a different animal, and that is primarily built for women that, I don't want to say just getting in, but looking to up their in-ring education. Let's put it that way, because I believe Shine works a bit differently, and that is more a seminar that you kind of get to go to, and you could get booked on a show while you're there, something of that nature. And I did talk to somebody about it, so I might not be doing it justice, but I know that is basically kind of what that does. Would Rise be something that you would think about, or is that not really what you would want to do at this stage, or any opinions about it at all?
So the big thing on that is, it doesn't matter how long you've been in the business. It doesn't matter how long you've wrestled. You can always learn something. I love seminars. I personally, may not be able to do the whole thing, and I'm sitting there drenched in sweat going, oh my gosh, what did I sign up for? I actually paid for this. It's just, sometimes you end up so physically exerted, you're vomiting, and that's the realistic part of it, is you're so hot and sticky and gross, and you're learning from some of the best of the best, and you're willing to put in all of this effort. You really do learn a lot at those sort of things. And to say that I am above Rise would be very insulting towards the promotion, because I don't believe there's a whole lot of people that can say that they can't learn anything. So, I'm always up for learning something new, or coming up with new things. or something along that nature. Is, that's the big thing about watching wrestling when you're training, or even if you're currently a wrestler and you're watching, you're learning, you're studying, and you can point out little things and you're going, oh, that's pretty cool. How do you do that? Let's do that in slow-mo. Or you go up to Horoscope, dude, that move is phenomenal. How did you do it? Can I use it? Sort of thing. And so, yeah, I would definitely consider it.
Okay. Working overseas. I asked this in relation to. I know there are some that I consider extremely talented, these people I will name by name. The Rock and Roll Roxy, I think she's very talented. The Black Widow, Brianna Call, very talented. But I also know that most of them really have no aspirations to take gigs like that unless they really, really, really suit their need, mainly because of the family that they would have to leave behind to do it. So I bring this up to you: would an overseas gig be something that is doable? Because I know that, you know, life is a different animal when you have other people that are dependent on you.
So, actually, yes,
Okay.
it is doable for sure. My family's actually very understanding, and very supportive, and so if it were the opportunity were ever to arise, it would definitely be a thing that would be greatly considered, depending on the situation, and there's a lot of little factors that go into it. And I actually, my real job in the real world is very understanding, and they think it's absolutely awesome that I wrestle. And so I'm allotted, whatever time I need. If I need to take a couple weeks, yeah, have a great time.
Well, that's great.
So, yeah.
But now, and I also say this in relation to some other people I know where they've taken the opportunity to go overseas, but they've had to essentially sign on with that promotion for. I want to say one of them's Diane. Um, that's the actual name of the promotion. Stardom. I know. I don't know if they had the same terms underneath them, but basically, when they leave, they're leaving for months at a time. Now, to do
Right.
that, would that be? I mean, I know you said it would be kind of based on what the terms are. If it was for a few weeks, like a 2-week tour, I'm assuming that would be fine. But to say, hey, the starter promotion called me and they want me to go for the next 3 months, for the fall quarter, uh, would that be something that you'd be like, hey, I'm time to go, time to hit it, or I'll politely pass?
It really just depends. It really would. You know, when it is in the year, what's going on at that time, what's going on in my personal life, on whether that decision would automatically be a yes or a no. And then a lot of the time when it comes to that sort of stuff, they put you up, they take care of you, and you don't really have to worry about a whole lot, and you definitely get paid.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. That's make no mistake about that. You're getting your money.
and but the other really big factor that goes into it is the experience that you get to have. So, is it really going to be worth, being gone for 3 months? Life goes on, yeah, but the life experience that you get to have in those 3 months in a completely different country is, you can't beat that. You really can't. And being able to do the thing you love, that's insane. So, I mean, I'm not saying yes, I would go right then.
But it's certainly
I
something worth thinking
love to
about.
say that, but at the same time, I've got to get my affairs in order, and I do have my children, and need to make sure everything's taken care of for them. that way, I can go about what I need to do.
Okay.
And basically experience something that a lot of people in life, most people never leave their own state, let alone be able to experience something of that nature for that long. So, that's, like I said, you only live once.
Oh yeah.
How we live it.
New motto. Life, live it. I
Oh,
got you.
yeah.
Okay, so it is a fair assessment to say that promoters that may be listening, you're fair game. Just talk it out and see what kind of conclusion you can reach in terms of the promotion, the area, the time frame, so on and so forth.
Yeah, definitely. And, if you're the other big part of that is if it's out of state, that's not a big issue. I do have a lot of friends within the wrestling business that I have no problem traveling with. They'll hop right in the car and we'll, even if we have to drive straight through and straight back.
Oh well.
I know a lot of people will be on board and go about it. So, I can provide, a full team of whoever, and that immediately cuts costs and other things like that. So, there's always different ways to negotiate and work it out. So,
Well. I was gonna say I don't know how long that ride is from Texas to Atlanta, but certainly could be worth looking into. I'm just saying. I always have to push for my home promotions now. You can't fault me for that.
I do not one bit. I
And
completely understand.
that's right. And once you're within city limits, that gives fair game for the Women's Pro Wrestling Network to catch you and put you up on the channel, which is what I'm all about. I have to showcase the talent when I get the opportunity to showcase the talent. So for selfish reasons, I'm always pushing for people to come. So I admit that.
Well, I hear you guys have some pretty awesome Waffle Houses too, so
Well, there you go.
that
See,
might be worth it.
drive on out here and hit the Waffle House up.
Oh, hit the Waffle House. Yeah,
That's right.
I like it.
It's time for random questions.
Time for random questions. This is the point of the interview where, just for, again, kicks and giggles, I like to ask some stuff that isn't necessarily wrestling based. Now, just to hear what the response may be. Almost game show like. Right. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Which outweighs the other? The beauty or the brutality?
Probably the brutality.
What's the best horoscope sign and why is it Aries?
Because simply I'm an Aries, I'm a Ram. Aries is the war, or the Greek god of war. And really, we're the true born leaders. We're amazing. I mean, look at us. I mean, you look at different people within history, a lot of them that took the lead. Aries, there are other zodiacs, yes, but in my personal opinion, we're the best.
Okay. Now, quick side note. I say that because you share a birthday with me.
Well, that's because you're amazing, and I'm very thrilled to hear that. Not very many people have the same birthday.
Yeah, you find it, you're like, hey, all right, that immediately gave me the question right there. If you weren't getting your aggressions out in a pro wrestling ring, how would you do it?
So, like I said earlier, I am a black belt in Taekwondo. Sparring is one of the easiest ways to get aggression out. before, like when I was hurt and I was out, I hit the gym a lot. If I can't do something physical, I go stir crazy. I'll be honest with you. But I did learn to focus my aggression out on art. I actually I can do graphics and I can on the computer, and I'm actually pretty talented when it comes to drawing. So it's kind of like my woo-saw meditation sort of thing.
Get out. You're an artist now too? Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to get
It runs in the family. To be fair, everyone in my family can either draw or sculpt or something along those lines.
I'm gonna have to get you to draw me a comic book or something.
I'm sure I can whip something up for you.
You know, I haven't drawn in a long time, but I think I might have a few pictures that's sitting up on my Facebook somewhere. So anyway, just saying. Maybe that's a horoscope thing. I don't know.
I originally had a singlet that it had a picture of a woman that was hand drawn by me, and then my trainer and actually my ex, Michael Faith, his singlet has a bull's head that has M face in the tribal, and so I actually incorporated a lot into my gear and my persona itself.
You are just exceptionally talented. Listen to you.
Well, thank you.
I can hear the blush in you right now. But anyway, here we go. Next question. Why exactly are you seeking to engage in a pillow fight with Simply Luscious?
Let me tell you what. All right. Luscious and I go way back. All right? Way back. And while we may not have always seen eye to eye, actually, in the ring, we never have seen eye to eye, to be honest. She is actually a phenomenal person, and she is a phenomenal wrestler. And it just so happened that we were chit-chatting, and Luscious now has a couple of really adorable kids, and her husband is amazing. And she's down in the San Antonio area, and we were talking it up, and she was talking about how she wanted to go to the gym and this and that. And I told her, blah, blah, blah. And she told me about the show and all this stuff going on. And I told her, that's just part of my personality. I just said, well, there's no deal unless I get a pillow fight. So we get a pillow fight, I guess.
Now, the other half of that question is for the creeper segment of the listening audience. Is there a charge for admission?
Oh. We may have to film it, and it'll just be, kind of like a pay-per-view or something. I don't know.
Oh my God. Well, you could send it over to the guy in California, and
I could. Well,
just tell him that
maybe
the video costs like $12,000.
Yeah. There you go. Oh my goodness.
Do you know what the Legends Football League is?
The Legends Football League?
Yes.
No.
This question is based on a post that you essentially love football. So I will fill in the blanks and say that the Legends Football League is a renamed football league, which is designed primarily for women, which also...
a team down in Houston. I gotcha. Sorry.
They originally started with L. It just wasn't Legends at the time. You probably know it better as the Lingerie Bowl or Football League. They just tried to do that so that it would become more suitable for advertisers. In much the same way that the WWE has changed it from, hey, we're not wrestling, we're sports entertainment. It's semantics.
Right. I gotcha.
So, football or pro wrestling? I know the answer to that, by the way.
It's gonna be wrestling for sure.
Yeah,
I
I
do
was pretty
love
sure about
football.
that.
Don't get me wrong, but um,
Well,
it
that's why I altered the question to be that football, not the NFL. It, you know,
yeah. Now I do know wrestlers that actually are a part of the league.
mhm.
So whether I can remember names or whatnot is irrelevant. But and I respect that, and they're hard. They're hard, and I'll leave the blank there. And I give them props. And if I was younger, I would definitely be a part of it. Um, but no,
You should just
I'm
go
100%.
in your wrestling gear and steamroll through, like, through the line, just because.
Oh yeah, I'd totally do that. Don't care.
Just
Yeah,
do
there's
it,
not. Let's go.
and think about the publicity you'll get. It's like, hey, a wrestler came out here and just wiped out this entire team.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'd never work anywhere ever again.
Oh, well, I don't know now. The publicity. Come on, you telling me that a promotion out there would pick you up if you was on the news like this crazy woman just came out here and wrestling? That's money.
Right. Well, there's also like the big thing between good publicity and bad publicity, and so
Well,
I don't.
well, now the
I'm
real
not
key
sure how
is,
the
is
public would take that.
well, that's true. But now the real key is that as long as you don't do anything that's overly zealous or or ridiculous while you're out there. I mean, don't hospitalize anybody. Now that might be the bad publicity type deal. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
No broken bones or bruises, and well, maybe a few bruises, but no broken bones, no hospitalization, no streaking. You do those things, that's going to get you in trouble.
Oh, I promise the no streaking thing.
But
So
if you just show up at a football game and let's say you just bust out on the field, your wrestling gear, and you making the open challenge to any girl that's out there. You can take anybody that can laugh at me for 3 minutes or whatever the case may be. I'm telling you, money.
yeah, I mean, of course, if I probably would have to have approval. I'd
Probably.
be that person that's dragged out by security, but yeah, I could go. I could do that.
Well, just remember to tell them that this segment is brought to you by your local brewery or something, something like that. I don't know. As long as you got a sponsor, so that you can pay the security out, I think you'd be fine. Uh, Monster Energy drink, 5 Hour Energy, or Red Bull?
Mm. So, if I had to pick from that list, it would be
Yes.
Red Bull.
It sounds like you have something
Definitely.
outside of that list.
I do. I actually, I have a love-hate relationship with Celsius.
Why is it love hate?
Um, because they keep adjusting everything, and so I get used to a taste, and then they adjust the formula, and now it tastes completely different. And it's one of those, all right, I gotta get used to this one. So, but I hear there's a few more out in the market that I'm gonna have to go and try, but I can't remember their names to save my life.
But you're gonna
I
try
just
'em.
know I'm gonna have to try, definitely.
So,
But my go-to really is.
so despite the fact that they've changed the formula or the taste, you still buy the product.
Oh
So,
yeah,
so
oh
you
yeah,
so you're mad with them, but you're mad with them temporarily until you drink the drink, and then you're like, oh, okay, I can deal with
pretty pretty much, just like a woman, right?
that. I think you may need to look into the recipe that they have in there. If you have that kind of love hate relationship with the product, maybe they may be slipping something in there. I don't know. I'm just, you know,
There, Celsius is actually all natural. They use ginseng and vitamin B12 and a lot of products. That's why I prefer it. It's a little bit more natural than like downing a Red Bull. And the way that one works is it actually helps you burn calories. while you consume it. It can have some side effects, like especially if you don't eat, your stomach's going to be upset and things like that. But that's pretty much with every energy drink. So, but I also love the taste of ginseng, and it also has like a ginger taste to them too. The orange one does. So.
I smell a sponsorship. I need to retract what I said about the beer thing earlier. I think you need to be getting a sponsorship from them.
Either that or buy stock, one of the two.
Well, stock will just put you back. Well, I guess you'll get something from it if you sell it, but you need to get sponsorship. You just need the dollars sent directly to you.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Just come out to the ring with a case of Celsius every single time. I'd be all right with that.
Well, if Brock Lesnar can walk around with shorts that say Jimmy John's on it, then I'm pretty sure you can have your drink sponsor. And nobody's going to give Brock a hard time about having a sandwich company on his shorts.
Right. Not too many people, anyway.
Well, I'm not going to give him a hard time about it, that's for damn sure. So he can wear what he wants. So I'll go to Jimmy John's right along with him. Okay, so now we've gotten that out of the way. That was the random questions portion. Finally, fantasy booking.
Fantasy booking.
Fantasy booking is built on the concept that I am of the belief that every wrestler, particularly the creative ones, walk around with a bit of a storyline or angle that's kind of wrapped up in their heads that they could break out at a moment's notice and pitch off to a promoter if need be. So here's the point where we kind of put you on the spot and say, Kyra Maya, give me your personal fantasy booking. The only ruling here that I'm going to add into or the only caveat I'm going to put behind this is these have to be persons that are alive, meaning you can't book yourself off against Mr. Perfect or something like that. They need to be active individuals, and just to test your creativity a tad further, I'm going to also, and I know you're not going to like it, but it puts you in the bubble of give me a female opponent within this storyline that you produce.
All right. So, if I were to pick a single female, she's not doing a whole lot right now, but I do look at a lot of her footage. I do love the way that she looks, and she's not the only one. I mean, I admire a lot of them, and some of them aren't around anymore, like China, and Jazz is still around, and she still wrestles. She's amazing. But I would actually have to go with Awesome Kong, n.k.a. Karma.
Oh.
And the big thing is that our styles are very similar. She's bigger than me. She's actually taller than I am. But I think size-wise, we compare pretty well. And that's just something that really intrigues me because of the fact of there's not very many of us. And when it comes to size doesn't matter necessarily in the ring, but it definitely has its advantage. So, storyline built on it, I really haven't put a whole lot of thought into it, but I would definitely feud with her for sure.
But you're a creative young lady.
Sorry?
I said, but you're a creative young lady. I'm pretty sure you could toss out a storyline. What would you feud over? What would be the jump off point? What would create this feud?
In all honesty, I would say we would tag together, and at that point, something would go awry, either man problems or we decide that this person's better than you, or we can go about the ways of, hey, you actually suck, you haven't been pulling your weight, what's the deal? There's 1.5 million different possibilities with that. And in all honesty, I probably really would start with a tag because, I think it would get over, really. And then at that turning point, one of us would, definitely turn heel, turn into a bad guy, probably go with Kong. Kong's got the very, she's larger in the physique. She's going to get her way. And then proceed from there, just fight, brawl, and, see who can do what to each other. Because a lot of my move bases are going to be targeted. Now, I can throw them on much bigger people, but at the same time, I think she would be my challenge. Like the one person that I would have to fight tooth and nail with in order to succeed. So, and I don't know if it would necessarily be over a title or at a certain promotion, or even a certain country, but it would definitely be something that would be looked for, in my opinion. Now, not everybody's going to agree with me. They're going to look at it and go, well, that's just two big women fighting. What is this? They both throw punches. They both chop. They both, have big, massive moves. I love throwing German suplexes. Not very many women do it. And it's one of my big move sets. I have several that are kind of unique to me. People don't throw them because they're not normally what you would see a woman try and do. Mm-hmm. So, but it would, creative-wise, I probably spit out 1.5 million different scenarios and 1.5 million different matches. But my big thing is that it would be a brawl. It would be, hard work. It would take a lot of dedication, and, whoever prevailed in the end would definitely be, top shit. And if she won, then, I'd probably end up on my knees saying, yep, you're awesome. I'm sorry. Be my friend again.
She's beating you towards being a friend all over again.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, see, now that is a good booking. How about that? And if they don't like it, then hey, this is your fantasy booking. You can book whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's right. So we have, look, somebody out there needs to go ahead and book it. And we've already put out her aliases of Awesome Kong and Karma and Amazing Kong, but just for those other people who haven't watched Glow, the television series, she's also Tammy on that particular program, n.k.a. the Welfare Queen, which is ridiculous, but ridiculous in a good way. It's funny.
Yes, I've seen it.
And the fact that she was able to go on that show in the first couple episodes and act like she had no earthly idea of how to wrestle is I thought was brilliant.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. She's an amazing worker. I my hat's off to her. I love her to death. So I've never had the opportunity to meet her. I don't know if she really takes any bookings down in Texas or in the surrounding states, but she's top. I mean, pardon my French, but she's top shit. So, in my opinion, but I'm kind of biased there.
Well, you know what? You could be biased. And
I will be. I'll own up to it. I'm pretty honest.
Well, now I'm waiting on you to fill that void. Because I'm not even sure she takes a bunch of bookings anymore, but I'm waiting on you to fill the void.
Oh, well, I'll get up on it.
I'm gonna put that pressure, that weight on you to be the next monster.
Well, I will definitely attempt my best. And I'm pretty sure I get pretty close.
Yes, that's right. Not just close, you're gonna do it.
Yeah. Well,
Something like that.
yeah, something like that.
Now, see, as far as the fantasy booking on my end of the court, which I use at my 2 cents in, generally speaking, that would have just played off of the whole injury deal. Since you've kind of gotten past that, I would say after months and months and months of you, or let's say months and weeks, dwindle it down a little bit. Of you sending videos and promos and hyping your return, and getting everybody all excited and whatnot. You finally get into the ring of the promotion if you're choosing, of course. And just before the bell rings, management rushes out and say, "Hey, no, look, I'm sorry. No, it got this paper. The doctor said you're not cleared," which of course is upsetting to say the least. And you try it again, the following week or month or whatever the case may be, 2 or 3 more times. You always get shut down before you can ever get the opponent, which basically gives them a free win because now that, hey, by forfeit because you can't compete, so and so. Which now pushes Kyra Maya over to being just in a frenzy. And now without the sanction of the promotion or any sort of restraint behind the rules of wrestling, she just goes into a vicious rampage on all people that's in front of her. Which then thereby gives her the luxury of having a full match without any rules or regulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could buy it.
And
That was an awesome storyline, a few months ago when I started training and just work up to it. That would have been phenomenal.
Well, it would have worked, if for no other reason just to provide you this the gimmick of anybody that's going to work against you has to sign this waiver. And that's basically the only reason that I wanted it. I was like, I need you to sign this waiver. And ladies and gentlemen, we want to make it clear that the promotion has no responsibility to what this woman is going to do. She has forced her way in here, and we don't want to, keep denying this because it's creating more trouble than it's worth. But if you're willing to sign this waiver, whomever wrestler B happens to be, then you're fair game. And then that continues until somebody steps up and stops the monster in her tracks.
I love it.
Take that and run. Well, I guess it's too late for that now because you're already cleared. Can't do that.
Yeah, I'm already cleared. I've got all that. I've already actually do have a letter from my orthopedic surgeon that I it was one of those things. He did it as a joke, but I loved it so much I had it framed that he gave me the clear to become a professional wrestler again.
Well, congratulations for that you are cleared officially.
Yes, officially.
Well, I think you have been a phenomenal sport and managed to get through this entire thing without any problems. Bravo.
Well, thank you. Except for those few chair shots, I got. So, it is what it is.
Well, those things happen. But it had only been worse if you'd have said, "What chair shot?" So,
right.
If you started doing that, then I'd really be concerned about you.
Oh no. I've had a few.
Or if you turned around and say, "Hey, I'm ready to get started now," so then I would be really concerned about your well-being.
Right.
But you have made it through. You've coasted. You've shown another side of Kyra Maya for the fans to be able to listen to and really understand what you been dealing with, and I actually had way more questions, but I was like, man, it was flowing very well, and I got way more out of it than I ever thought that I could, and I had to leave some of this stuff just on the table, perhaps another time. I certainly want to share your email, or at least the official email, for those that are looking to book you, and I'll put that off into the description. But you are taking bookings at official Kyra Maya at gmail.com, correct?
That is correct.
So any promoters that's out there, I mean, we've talked about it, that you are open, raring to go. The location is not a big issue. Of course, they want to be a legitimate promotion, not just looking for an oil bath or whatever the heck that guy was looking to do. So you want to be somebody that has a legitimate promotion and some legitimate work underneath them. And your social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all Kyra Maya, I'm assuming.
Yes. If it's always going to be a variation of Kyra Maya. It's either going to be official Kyra Maya or it'll be Kyra.Maya, something along those lines.
But it's safe to say if you search it out, you will find it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now there is another Kyra Maya that I guess is a public speaker. So if you just put in wrestler, usually you don't have any issues.
Well, just toss wrestler behind that thing, and then you'll find her just fine. Is that
Oh yeah.
Is that what we're saying here?
We're saying, yeah, that's exactly what we're saying.
Okay, so there we go. I think that covers it. You are very well covered from top to bottom on social media. Everybody's gonna be able to find you, and I am gonna make sure that I do that myself. For the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. You know, gotta go ahead and get connected. So any final words before we polish this thing on up? I think I want to thank you first off before you say anything, that you shared quite a bit, and I think it's been a really good interview, at least in my opinion. So any final things that you'd like to share, or final statement, so on, something like that?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. The big thing is that everybody's real. Some people expose more information than others. I'm pretty much an open book. So if you have questions, I have no problem answering them within reason. There is an asterisk there. There is within reason. Chances are, no, I won't show you my scars. No, I'm not gonna send full body pictures. No, I don't do certain things. Just gonna get that out of the way. But you know, I am real. I believe in honesty and truthfulness, and so I play pretty well on that. And I believe that more people should be honest in the world, but that's just my personal opinion. I understand, making little white lies to save somebody's feelings, but within reason. And then I guess to my fans, I love you. It's awesome. You guys are great. And any new fans, that's welcome aboard. Feel free to contact me anytime. And that's about it. I mean, just keep out on the lookout. You never know where I'll end up. I've traveled numerous places, been to many promotions, and, don't always believe everything that you see or hear on social media, because it's not always going to be true. And, yeah, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate it.
And we appreciate you. You've been a fantastic guest, and I want to close out with giving all this good stuff again. So for promoters out there, just search Kyra Maya in some variation, way, shape, or form. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. She's available on all of that. And as for the Women's Pro Wrestling Network, you can go to WPNWrestling.com for the website, which is usually the focal point and the nexus for all other social media, that being Facebook, Women's Pro Wrestling Network, all one word, same as our YouTube channel. And as far as Instagram and Twitter, there's WPN Wrestling. So you can follow us on those outlets as well. Still working those up. I haven't done that as much as I've done the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is pretty much the front runner in that, but follow us on those other things because we're working on those too. So with that, I want to thank the beautiful Brutality, Kyra Maya, for coming on to the show and sharing of herself and her career and the return that she has. I think that, like I said before, good interview. I enjoyed it, and it was quite informative. I got way more. It was touching stuff there. I must admit. So I'm really kind of pleased that you opened up and you shared that with me and the listeners at large out here. And so now, as we close this thing on out, I can hit the Xbox and I can start Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. So I want to thank everybody for listening to us kind of banter on a little bit here for the time being. And be sure to follow us on all those platforms previously mentioned. And we'll catch you on the next show. So long, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.